Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a journey into the unknown. The energy that surrounds us presents Riding Through the Unknown with your host, Michael Hoff.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Riding Through the Unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and with me tonight is Miss Mary Beaver. And before I turn it over to her to introduce herself, I'm just going to share transparency. Apparently, Facebook is not airing us tonight, only YouTube. So I'm hoping Facebook decides to air us during the show, but so I'm hoping, please forgive me for that. It's out of my hands. But without further ado, I'm going to just run the show and hand it over to Mary.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on, and I've been looking forward to this.
Nice. So I'll give a brief about myself. I came on about 2 years ago. I've been a part of the secret space program under a program called MKDELTA, which is Space Soldier Assassin program. The other one is MK Alpha programming. It's more your regular soldier programming. There are programs within the programs under the MK Ultra programming, and it came out here under Project Paperclip. They expand on the different programs underneath MK Ultra to hide it from the public, leaked out. So that's how they've been hiding it since the first time it came out, I believe 2 years ago. Could be give or take a couple of years. I spent 8 years in the military under the human intelligence field. Graduated from what's called the Great Skills Program. Again, it's an assassin program. So I guess in space as on Earth here. And I can transcribe ancient Phoenician, and which is connected to our ancient lineage of the original 10 tribes of man. There were 12. There actually were 14. 2 were assassinated by Cain's children. So that left the 12 tribes. Now there's just 10 pure tribes of man on the planet, and we do have what's called a shadow family, which are known as the Anunnaki Melchizedek bloodline. So we're kind of in war with ourselves, if you will. So, and yeah, so I hope that works. Sorry.
Oh no, that was perfect. So my first question for you that I came across when reading about you and everything was, what is your take of the Garden of Eden? Because for me, it looks like you take a different take of Garden of Eden than what everyone's been taught.
I have access to the forbidden knowledge. Yeah, it's interesting. So there's different Garden of Edens. Some think it's a dimension thing, so a different dimension. Like our DNA strand is what the dimensions look like, if you want. So when you have a DNA, and you have like the markers in between, and then you have all the lines in between, you have another marker. That's kind of like how the dimensions are. So the Garden of Eden is kind of where we're at, but because it fell from grace, if you will, because of the fall, with Metatron and whatnot, it became their coding to the Metatronic coding instead of the angelic Christo coding. And again, there's Shauna Dean talks a lot more about this. She's a little harder to find these days, but the Garden of Eden is or was paradise, but it can still be accessed. Now, from my knowledge, and I could be wrong, I'm always going to say that I could be wrong, because I don't know for a fact, but I do believe it is behind the 13th gate. So everybody is concerned about all the 12 gates. Those are the active gates. But there is a 13th gate that, if we're successful, is supposed to open within this lifetime. And then it would reopen the path back to heaven, but there can't be any evil on the planet when it does, because we can't infect the access to heaven, if you will, which is it looks like the eye of God, and that's kind of where God and the archangels and stuff live. I'm trying to think of my phone, if you don't mind me taking a look real quick.
Oh no, I appreciate doing that.
Names don't stick in my mind because I retain so much information that I apologize. They zapped that part of my brain, so I can't retain names of places or things. But they can't erase everything else. That's a DNA, muscle memory, and water memory. But they can't zap the cortex of that part of the brain, so you can't iterate it without having to have it in front of you. There it is. So the Eye of God is under the nebula or helix nebulus. So planetary nebula is where heaven is. And that is what the Vatican actually watches, because they want to see what heaven's up to. And they have the telescope called Lucifer. So Lucifer's eye is always on the heavens, and God's eye is always on us, if you will. So that's kind of where all the esotericness of the eyes come in. And we have the consciousness of our own eyes too. So that's how you ascend. Mainly, first you have to ascend on paper, and then when you gain the higher knowledge of escaping the matrix is when you learn about the other eyes of consciousness.
That's interesting, because I mean, we're learning about the third eye and how we need to decalcify it because so many things have blocked it. But I never thought about that we had even more eyes than that.
Yeah, so the consciousness is big, right? So in the teachings, it tells you about all the eyes. That's why when we look at the Illuminati stuff, it has different eyes. Like there's the eye on the pyramid, there's the eye in the pyramid, there's even eyes under the pyramid. So, and they all have their different colors. Now, the eye of God is gold. So, and I just connected with that, but it wasn't right away. Nothing's going to happen overnight. And it's something that it could be a little scary because you see these eyes. And the first thing, even for myself growing up in the Illuminati families, it was like, who are you? It's learning that we have to remember that the bad people took over the blessings of God and creation and all that other stuff. So it's trying to get back to the four corners of your consciousness and opening your God eye. Now your third eye, yes, is the symbol here that we use, and that's where you touch foreheads with. You can do it with animals. You see people doing it with animals, other humans, trees. I always tell people to put your third eye against the tree. Trees are healing. So then I'm not a tree hugger, but I highly recommend everybody hug trees. And put your third eye up to it and just let everything out of you. But I myself am still connecting to my consciousness, and I've connected to two, my north and my south. It will be different for everybody, and that's kind of how I interpreted the compass behind me was my north and south. So this is your consciousness. And the God eye would be in the middle of your brain, which is also called the nebula. So hence the reason God's kingdom is called the nebula or Hanova or Nova. So, but yes, for me, it was connecting to your North Star is your first, because your North Star is the mediator between you and your soul. Your soul is not in your body. If it was, you'd be an ascended master. So, which is what Jesus was. So we have to recapture our soul, which is in the spirit realm. And to do that, you have to take all these steps. And once you start to realize these steps, you stop aging. You can even learn how to reverse age. And then you don't worry about time anymore. You stop looking at calendars. You don't look at watches. They have no symbolic meaning while you're on this journey of your eyes. And you find you don't age. So I've stayed young for quite a while because I've had a lot of this knowledge. I'm not reversing in age. I was actually implanted with an alien device that forces me to age. And because it was getting obvious that I wasn't aging. And people were like, how are you in your 40s and you look like you're in your 20s? So our DNA is written to either live 1,000 years. Yeah, well, everybody has it. You just have to know how to tap into it. And the ones that usually know about it are the ones in the families that they teach the children the white magic. It's these introductory programs to learning. And this is where everybody else is right now. As an adult, you're learning the children's steps. So I learned a lot of this stuff when I was younger, because of my grandma, but they stopped teaching me when I knew, when I figured out what it was they were grooming me for. So, and I didn't want to be, the wife of Lucifer. Like, no, thanks. Yeah. I love life.
That would be a hard sell.
That would be. Well, they weren't selling it. They said I was getting baptized, and I'm like, okay, my little white dress, and a lot of demonic, Masonic old people at the church. It was weird. So, and then it felt like spiritual needles just tearing into you. And the further into the podium you got, the worse it got. So by the time you get there, you're begging for mercy. And the mercy is you give in to the Dark Lord and he'll set you free, right? So I was strong enough to say, we're not even running down the aisle. We're going to turn around and run out. So not that I can take pain, but not spiritual pain. That hurts.
Yeah.
I would rather take physical pain all day long.
Absolutely. So it's interesting that you say you grew up with the Illuminati and so many things have been infiltrated. Do you feel the Illuminati got infiltrated, or do you think it was always as is?
No, I did. About 6 years. The Illuminati were really schools of mastery. So when we talk about the first school of mastery, which would be the Masons, they master what? The smithing, the building. They're master builder races. These are the Illuminati schools for master builders. When Masonic teachings, and those were all alchemic schools to build. That's what we're down here for. I don't know if you guys watched in your time the movie Ants cartoon, the Disney one, where they were sorting the soldier and the worker, and then the workers, if you were, it depended on what type of worker you were. You went to a specific Illuminati school, which had titles like the Masons or the Jesuits. Templars are more angels. I don't know where they would fall into this, but other than they're not good people. Not all of them are bad, but definitely misguided, like the rest of the lower ones are. So that's really what it comes down to. If you were a doctor, you went to schools, Illuminati alchemaic schools for medicine and healing. So natural medicine, and then the healing part of spirituality, where the shamans and stuff come in. So the Illuminati factions, say The Witcher talks about the different schools, because that one school of ascended matter, kind of what that looked like. They were an Illuminati school. So that's what the Illuminati really is. It was there to help you. Some people wanted to stay longer, some people wanted to send it out. So I am protected by what's called the Bavarian Illuminati, and they were created by the Christ line, and they were part of the ascended masters. The covenant was attacked about 200 years ago. I know what it says in it, and it's not accurate. It wasn't there for 10 years. It's been there since the Christ have been on the planet. But it was attacked 200 years ago. So the ascended masters, those that survived or disappeared. So the ones that pledged were a secret society with secret societies. So you'll see a lot of this in the movie The Da Vinci Code. What's his name plays one of the Bavarian Illuminatis inside, because nobody gets.
So she's having issues on her side with her internet. So as soon as she gets it back, we will bring her back on. It just so happened that as people are aware, when one company comes in and says, we're now going to test a new internet system out, that it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. So we will hopefully get her back on here shortly and continue to learn about life growing up with the Illuminati. We're going to hopefully get to talk about the fallen angels and find out about the Adana of Soul, and hopefully, if time permits, talk about some of the MKDELTA. Getting a little tongue-tied here. So hopefully she will be back momentarily. In the meantime, for anyone who's just catching in, we were discussing that. And here she comes. See if I can pull her up. She's back.
They're me talking about it.
So,
sorry about that.
That's okay. I was explaining in your absence that they came in and decided to change your internet, so that we all know how that works. So, stuff beyond
right.
But I'm kind of interested. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, the Illuminati schools are your specific abilities and reasons you were here. So.
Okay, and so I'm wondering, was because you grew up in the Illuminati system that you had access to the information about the Garden of Eden and fallen angels? And I'm curious, are the fallen angels like the Nephilim, or is this a different group of fallen angels?
They look just like us. They're a 2 and a 5 strand DNA. That was kind of the fight that they had, is they questioned God's sanity, because they are considered benevolent beings. God wanted them to worship us as gods, because it's really more of a sibling rivalry. If I really want to break it down to basic, trying to describe it, the fallen angels, benevolent. They were part of, the esteemed, burial and whatnot. But how do you describe that? So when creation, they create new bloodline, if you will. So we were created to be a higher DNA, to have more knowledge, to have, everything, including, I guess, what we would know as superpowers today. But CS is equal because they didn't have kingdoms like angelic kingdoms. And they got replaced with us. I don't know how long ago. There's a line, say maybe about 2 million years ago, 25 million years ago, 2 million years ago, the war, because the Bible describes the pieces that you guys don't get to see. One of the old Bibles does describe war 2 million years ago. So, of when the real war started with the fallen angels. It's always been going on. Again, the Yeshadin 5 million years ago, and then she brings it.
Okay, so let's see. Looks like she's back. That was a little quicker, so seems like they're not wanting us to talk about this topic.
So I don't know. We're kitching.
Yeah, I'm thinking the powers that be are not too thrilled we're having this conversation.
No, probably not. So yeah, we're pretty much fighting sibling rivalry. And the fallen angels lost their wings. That's where it describes that when they're falling from the sky, their wings are on fire because God took their wings away. But they left what was called the wing bone seed. So that's kind of how you can tell, is they'll have a bone, 1 or 2 bones on either side of their back, in between their spine and their shoulder blades. So those are fallen angels. But again, they look like us because they were being punished. When we had knowledge and we weren't cloaked by the veil of deception, we knew who they were because we could feel their frequencies were much lower than ours. So as being angelic beings ourselves, we wanted to help them come back to grace, but they have this long-term war with us through their families, and that's most of the Knights Templar. So regardless if anybody is watching this in the Knights Templar, you probably have a bone seed, and you don't have to, wear the sins of your fathers, I guess is how that would have been spoken. But yeah, this is a fight between the angelics that belong here and then the fallen. And there are bloodlines. So the blue pill and the red pill really describe the blue Melchizedek bloodline and the red Anunnaki Melchizedek bloodline. So this is where the war is. Who's going to win Middle Earth?
Right, and it's interesting you say that about the wings and the back, because I've often said the way, like, the shoulder blade and that bone back there is, it seems like we would have had wings, because it's like, it feels like it's shaped to where it's like something would be attached and protruding, or at least in my case. So it's interesting that you say, yeah, that's
Well,
where
we're all different. Yeah, like the reptinoids, not the reptilians, but the reptinoids still have a like we do, but they have scales. Some of them flew, some of them didn't. Not everybody has wings. We're all part of, a big system. And the very first humans or factions of each, what would be a good word to describe that?
Clan?
Each creation of beings. Yeah, because the reptinoids were the first. They were way before us. And they left during it was 60 billion years ago when the dinosaurs were here. Those were the beasts. So there was a comet. I actually thought the comet was fake. I thought it was a lie. But it was real. There was this huge comet. And instead of them strategically trying to destroy the comet, they fled. And they let the comet destroy most of the Earth. It got repaired, obviously. But yeah, they went to the quadrant. So they left the majority of their species here to die, which was sad. But it is what it is. So they were one of the first creations here. And we all share a similar gene. We share the Noid gene, which is the creation where creation and creators, scientists or creator gods got together and did a whole bunch of different clay models. And then when they decided, oh, we like that clay model, then they breathed life into the clay models. And they, creator and creation, were the first beings in those suits or bodies. And then that's how Adam and Eve come into the picture. It's really creator and creation. But they didn't tell you that.
Right.
Actually, I don't think anybody remembers that.
No, I never heard Adam and Eve came from clay. That's a new one on me. But so I'm kind of curious with Adam and Eve, if they came from the clay, where does Lilith come into it?
Everything was a model. So if they had Lilith, a created model that was equal to Adam, who didn't want to submit, but once life is breathed into it, they're allowed to live. Does that make sense? So they become either immortal, ascended, and with something that we can do all. So everybody came as a model. But Adam and Eve is just one scenario. There's many before that. So creator and creation come in and they create new species of life. The next one, they could look like the Phaenoids. And Phaenoids are fairies. But some of them look like rams. Some have wings. Some look like fairies. There's different types of Phaenoids. And the Aquanoids. These are all different species that were here way before us. So, but the common denominator is the Noid gene. That is the base model of our creation. Before that was the Titans. So their clay base model was what they looked like. So I would say like Mother Earth looks like a big worm, right? Little scalies and all over the place, and then this huge gourd mouth and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen what she looks like. She's quite fascinating.
I've usually seen her as a tall being with like a wreath of flowers and greenery. I can't say I've ever seen Gaia as a worm.
Gaia is a galaxy. Mother Earth
Really?
is a worm. She's a Titan, yes. And again, this is in the Forbidden Knowledge. She's also known as Ru or Ra, not R-H-A-H, but Ra, Russ. She has many different names, but she's known as Mother Earth.
Okay. So that's
Gaia is another galaxy that was destroyed by what's their species? I wasn't ready for this question. I talked about it. Sorry, I'm like, let me get my notes out. Gaia was a galaxy that was destroyed by its hosts, which would be like we're close to the Earth. They harvested it to the point that there was no more sustainability with it. They were just the basic humans, so a smaller DNA than us, or lower frequency DNA, and they live out in the Orion galaxy, not Orion, Orion, completely different galaxy. And they never learned to sustain life. They learned to harvest, use, and move on. So they're the ones that did the whole mission, and they're part of the Anunnaki and all that stuff. So it's really just they're going to plant their flags. So to them, it's a game of flags. Like, who's going to plant their flag here? Because we have the crystal of life technology here, because this is the uterus of creation, pretty much.
Right. So that kind of sounds like the movie Jupiter Ascending, where they were like, who's laying claim to the Earth?
Yes. Yes. If you have an underdeveloped species, you can lay claim to the Earth. 100%. Jared Rand actually told me to watch that movie. Maybe because of the lizards. I had some PTSD watching it. I was like, I'm going to kill my TV. So.
Yeah. That movie was different, but I liked the flying shoes, though, because that was kind of I thought like a nod
the boots?
to
the
Greeks.
the skyjacker boots?
Yep.
Right? Let me fly off this building. Yeah, there's a lot of that technology in the underground.
Yeah, and it's
so yeah, there's a lot of truth to Jupiter ascending.
Right. And so one of the things that I was noticing when I was looking at some of your material is you talk about a Donna of Soul. Can you explain that?
Adona is one of the original 12 god creators of this realm, I guess you could say. So she was also the goddess on the planet who married the Balkan king to create the Magdalene bloodline.
Really?
Yeah.
So this really is the soul system. That's just not something mankind created the name for. That it's actually is its true real name.
Yes. Yeah. And you can Google it. You can put it in soul, Earth soul. So yes, if you really want to connect with the Earth, you have to use it as the word soul. It's again, I have access. So for me, it's like basic knowledge. I'm like, why don't you know this? But you guys don't have access to the forbidden knowledge. So I apologize. It is in there. And Mother Earth is a big, nasty worm.
Well, no worries about that. And there are things that I will say, and I'm like, how do you not get this? And I realize it's from programming through the programs. So I'm with you on that one, and I forget too sometimes. And so, going back to the fallen angels for a second, I'm kind of curious because I know the Watchers interfered when they weren't supposed to. So were the Watchers part of the Fallen, or was that another incident that happened?
The Watchers, the Guardians, honestly, when you're immortal, you get bored, right? I mean, we have a very short amount of life here and we get bored. Yeah. So it's like to wreak havoc, so we'll be alone in our gardens, it depends. Yes, some of them get bored and they want to be with humanity, and we're just like, oh, hey, look, they're gods and goddesses because they're immortal. Tell us your stories, right? And so, but this is bad news. So yeah, they get involved a lot. They're involved right now, to be honest with you. But so you have to kind of know who it is you are dealing with. And that's a lot of questions. Don't trust any of them. Not even angels. Just be like, identify yourself.
And I gotta say, I'm curious how the powers are letting this all happen, because normally they come in and they're like, "Look, you guys have gone too far. We're wiping and we're starting over." And yet here we are, like in this continuous battle, and it's like, why are they allowing this? Or did something happen to the powers?
It's not. No, the powers are fine. They cannot interfere with free will. So they are not coming down here to save anybody. Don't ask them to come down here and save anybody.
They won't.
Because there's levels. There's always a pyramid effect somewhere, even in free will. So free will gets abused a lot, especially in all 11 dimensions, 100%. And if there's a loophole, somebody's going to find it. So free will is allowed to thrive, and that's how you figure out yourself as a species, is to do good and bad and, you know, mischievous things, discover, grow, fall, because you have to learn, right? And when you're a new species, and we're still considered a new species because we're a trillion years old, which to us seems like, what? That seems ancient, but it's really not. When free will ends up hurting itself, that's when divine will comes in. And that's about to happen soon. If we keep asking for the heavens to come down here, and people don't understand when divine will comes in, it's a mercy. And because again, the churches don't teach you that. They say, ask the gods, don't ask the gods nothing. We're in the arena of the gods. They're just watching us. We're either going to thrive or we're going to fall. But if we become a parasite to the planet and the galaxy, then they got to step in. But it's nothing good. That's where, the flood came in. Only a few were rescued. It wasn't just Noah on his ark. There were many arks. And I talked about that on Michael Solid. From my understanding, there's 75. But they're not bound to the 3D here. They can look like a rock. They could look like a tree. They can stay in a form of Iraq until they're ready to show themselves. And then they'll let certain people on float above and capture those people to what's called the sanctuary planet while the overhaul of the earth is taking. That's when divine will has to step in. So when everybody says Jesus, you don't want Jesus to ascend down here and be like, hey, I'm going to take out all the bad. No, it's everybody. They take out everybody except the chosen ones that have the highest DNA. So we can either fix ourselves, or if they can't fix us, again, they just have to put us. There is a sanctuary planet. And from what I've seen in the history books, they're only going to rescue about 83,000 people. So it's not a lot. So again, if humanity doesn't, figuratively speaking, get their head out of the ground, there we go.
Yeah.
Then,
we'll use that analogy.
That's unfortunately how it's going to happen. And these are the yeah. Oh no, it's okay if we have our head in the clouds, because maybe we'll have a better understanding. Maybe there's something to the airheads. You never know. So, but yeah, you don't want to ask divine will to get involved in anything. So it really does come down to the education. That's your ascension. Your first ascension is education. And it's not even trusting one thing or the other. You have to learn how to feel if what somebody's saying is real. Does it apply to you? It might. The people who have Anunnaki DNA don't like me. But the ones that have Anunnaki Christo bloodlines, they resonate with some of the stuff that I say. The Christo bloodlines absolutely are like, I feel you, because we're not tainted. There's a reason we're not tainted. So we are a part of the earth. We're the ones that can't leave, because if we leave, the earth dies. So that's why there's a sanctuary planet very close to us if divine will has to get involved.
Okay, so I'm kind of curious now. Wanting to kind of pick your brain a little bit, because I'm starting to find out through talking with other guests that my parents and I worked really hard to stay out of the military, and it seems to come to find out I stayed out of the normal military, but apparently I was in the programs. And so someone had mentioned that they could read on my energy like being on the assassin program, which I understand is MKDELTA. So I'm curious to
Right.
learn from you what MKDELTA well, not was, because it still is, but about
Right. It's still there.
about it.
So the MKDELTA programming is it starts in the womb. Your parent has to be physically abused because the mother has to release a certain survival genetic decoding that goes into your body. So she has to be physically abused, emotionally abused, alcohol or drug abused. There has to be abuse while she's pregnant with you. And that is what releases that gene to make you bigger, stronger, faster, taller. Some are short, not all of them, but there's a few. And it doesn't stop. You might, when you're first born, I say the youngest is about 3 months old, but I've heard of accounts where the babies were abused at a couple weeks old. And if they survive, you become an MKDELTA assassin. So, and you do it here too, whether you're conscious or not. They do use people who are in that program, unless you're able to break your code switches. I was lucky enough to mine, and survive it. So it doesn't mean you kill people. You can. You have the capability of doing it, and you're one of the strongest, and you're very hard. So when they have a fail-safe spirit, they're called the Phantom Soldier Group. They're the ones they send after programming. And I don't know what kind of programming those guys go through. They're not 100% human. They are hybrids of some sort, but I don't know with what. So that's a new program that started about 20 years ago, I think. So the Phantom Soldiers, because some of the MKDELTA soldiers were getting out of hand. Not really in a bad way. It was switched. So, we were going after the bad guys. So the bad guys created an even bigger bad guy called the Phantom Military Group. So I don't know much about those guys. Just know they exist. So, because they're the ones that they would have to send after me if I got out of hand, right? So that's why I stay neutral. And I usually, if anybody's going to mess with me or they come after the people that I care and love, I tell them, well, that's fine. You can take anybody out that you want. But remember, when I have nothing left to hold me back, you have nothing left to stop me. So they think about these things. Point. And that is, yeah. So my children, my mom, my family, and my very close friends are the only reason I sit still. You know what I mean? So, and when that's gone, and I have left, I become one of the most dangerous things on the planet.
So how did you learn you were a part of this? Or did they just flat out tell you because of your background?
I didn't know about the MKDELTA programming until I was deprogrammed. I knew about the abuse. It was taught to me differently. The reason we were being abused was for good. We had to learn the balance between, you can't have all this good stuff without consequences. And so even going into, again, I was going to be baptized to marrying Lucifer, figuratively. I don't know how it was going to work at the end because I didn't stop and stick around. But the pain, you have to go through pain in order to have reward. And that is, excuse my English, that's ass backwards. You don't have to go through pain. But that was part of the programming that I had to go through. You had to pretty much be dying in order to reward, in order to enjoy it. So
okay, so we have a moment where her internet is cut out again, and so I apologize to everyone watching. We are hopefully going to get her back to finish talking about this. They're not going to stop us from sharing this information out and getting this story out. And hopefully she will be able to come back in and her internet sustains coming back in. But for those of you joining us, we are working with her having internet that's been cutting in and out. New system that they're testing, or so they say. And we were discussing the MKDELTA program. We had discussed the fallen angels and Adonna's soul in the Garden of Eden. So here it looks like she's coming back. So hopefully we'll be able to continue learning about the program. And let's see. There we go. See, is there a time lag on this one? It looks like we're back, but it looks like they may be not allowing her to hear me, or so we'll see. Hopefully it'll equalize out. Nope. So she dropped that again, and so I apologize. This is happening. This is live, so we do the best we can, and I am hoping that this works and comes through, and if not, we will most likely have her on again, and we will make sure to the best of our abilities prevent this from happening in future. And so I want to thank all of you that are staying with us to go down this journey and go into the unknown and hopefully learn some hidden histories or some of the esoterics, or if it's something that you already knew and wasn't sure about, got validation. So I'm grateful that happens as well. And we will continue with the programs and learning some more about her story when she comes back. In the meantime, I want to thank all the viewers for joining me on this Writing Through the Unknown series, which started out as just purely helping the disclosure movement, and now learning that as I'm helping with the disclosure movement, I'm also learning more about me and my past and parts about me that I was unaware of. And so you all are privileged to my growth and my journey as well. So thank you for that. And let's see if we can bring her back and have some more information about MKDELTA and her involvement, and maybe learn some more about the program, so help others. Are you back with us, Mary? Can you hear us? Sounding like there's something coming across, but I don't think it's Mary, and it's not looking like she can hear me. Let's see.
Can you see me now?
I can see you now.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was just explaining to everyone again we do the best we can on live shows and stuff happens, and so
Okay.
we were talking about MKDELTA and how you were becoming aware
the
of.
assassin program. Right. So I didn't know about the program until I was deprogrammed. I knew that I was a fighter, but I was also raised on a ranch. So my grandmother was a golden dove, and so yeah, it just you're just put into survival situations a lot. Like you never seem to catch a break. Like life just sucks. Every day is survival. Some days are worse than others, and if you don't survive the program, a lot of children in that program don't make it, and it seems to have gotten worse. But if you were born between the 60s and the 70s, everybody that went to public school was scanned. So, and what that means is you didn't go into like the underground and like mutate you or anything. You were just scanned. So I know that a lot of people know about the Magic School Bus video in the books, right? That's real.
Right.
Magic School Buses take you to the underground bases when you go on field trips. I don't know if anybody remembers, but you go on to a lot of field trips in your younger years because they're scanning your DNA. And I asked some chaperones, and they were like, I was there too. And I was like, right. So you know the same veil of deception did. So everybody splits off into groups. Well, guess what? When you walk into the underground, because when I was in the program, the 100-year program, I was a scanner. I mean, I didn't hurt children. Nobody got hurt. None of them get hurt. But there are the doors. It's like going into Disneyland. You have all these gates, and you go.
Okay. So I'm definitely thinking we're gonna have her back on, and we're gonna try again to share this information, because I'm starting to feel like there's some really good information for you all to hear, that they keep seeming like at specific points dropping the signal. So, and then again, I could be reading into it and it's just randomly happening, but it's just seems to me a little suspicious with the topic. So we will see, and hopefully she will be coming back on here in a moment. And again, for everyone out there on Facebook, it's looking like Facebook is not going to allow this episode to air. And so I will take and upload a copy of this episode to the Facebook locations that I normally share this at. So you will get a chance to see what information was shared. And hopefully by the next episode, which is scheduled for Wednesday, October 18th, we will have this situation fixed and being able to air back onto Facebook. But right now, it seems the issue is Facebook says that someone deleted or removed the episode, which I did not delete or remove it. So I don't know how it could be deleted from all these locations, but we will see. And now let's see if we can bring Mary back in. So, can you hear us, Mary? Mary, can you hear us? Are you back with us? Seems we're still getting some technical interference because it's sounding like something's coming through. I don't know if you all can hear that. Mary, can you hear us? Okay, so it's looking like her picture is frozen, and so connection is still...
I'm here.
Oh, there she is.
I was sitting really still.
I was also looking at going, I think she flipped her hair and switched her headphones.
I did to get some more water. I was out.
Ah,
I was
okay.
like, well, while it's buffering, just go grab some water.
There you go. So I was thinking with how this has been buffering and everything. I do appreciate doing the episode, and I know we did the best we could. I was wondering if might want to reschedule and do another episode, come back on, or...
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, she's dropped back out, and so with the technical issues, this has been, unfortunately, more of the choppier, less fluid flowing shows, and I apologize for that. But hopefully the information that came across, as I said, is of benefit to everyone, and perhaps that's the information that was needed to come across right now. And so we will definitely work on having her back on so that we can learn more of her story, as I feel like she has a lot to share and a unique perspective. And so I will say, with our time pretty much up, I am going to say good night to everyone from this show. And thank you to all that viewed the show and stuck with us to the end. And hopefully next time she comes on, we'll have much better signal strength, and we will be able to share the information better and bring more information forward. And so, from all of us at Writing Through the Unknown, thank you. Have a blessed evening, a blessed day, a blessed afternoon wherever you are in the world. And join us, as I said, on Wednesday, October 18th, as Penny Bradley will be coming on as our guest. And with that, I will say goodnight to you all. And we will send it out with our outro. See you all on the next episode of this month.